Well, howdy, people. We're trying our first ever live on FBN. So myself and Mark are here today to talk about coin toss and what coin toss is about. I'm just going to switch another light on. Maybe. Press the right button, I will. There we go. Now at least you can see me. Okay, Mark, welcome to the show, mate. It's going to be my co-host. Say hello to the audience.
Hey, guys. Good to see you. It's good to be back. I've had lots of fun with Carl the other night, and let's continue on talking about all the different things in the world of cryptocurrency.
Yeah, so hopefully through these episodes that we'll create, we'll obviously talk about things that are happening in the market and things that are relative to what's going on with how blockchain works. And we're also going to try and bring in the basics and explain what blockchain and why this business exists and how it works. So I'm going to hand it to Mark for half a second because I've got to grab something.
Thanks, guys. Well, tonight we're going to start off. We will be sort of looking at crypto wallets and blockchain. We're going to explain a little about what is blockchain exactly. We won't go too deep, but we'll give you a bit of an explanation to try and help you wrap your head around this kind of scary thing that people think it is. But it's pretty simple. We've got some good examples there for you. We'll go over some wallets that we've been using ourselves for quite a while now and haven't had any trouble with them. So it's not financial advice, but it would definitely be an example that I would give to you to say this is pretty tried and true. And there's also some specific wallets we have for XRP themselves, but also ones for all the different cryptocurrencies if we have people out there that are kind of already into it and looking for somewhere to store everything. Vince is back.
Yes, I am. That's better. In the mad rush to get everything did, there's something I forgot to do, so I had to just duck off quickly and do that. So I put Mark right on the spot there, and I think he handled himself quite well. Hi, Sunflower, welcome. Glad to see you here. So at least we know we have one visitor.
Yeah, that's a great start.
But also must mean that we're actually live. Is that true, Sunflower? Are we live? Can you see us? Just a nice little yes will be good. I expect that to be about 10 seconds after I've asked the question, but that's how streaming works.
Yeah, you've got to wait for your fingers to type.
Hi, guys. Hey, Andrew. Welcome. The Sunflower's giving us an applause. Yep. Margaret. Good. Beautiful, guys. Welcome along. So what is blockchain? What's it about? Why are people scared of it? We have so many questions that we can ask that just needs to be done. Hello, microphone. Look at that. You can see my microphone.
Yeah, I reckon it.
About that.
I don't mind it.
No, still there. Okay. That's me leaning forward or backwards or something that causes that. Who cares? Effectively, blockchain has been around since about 2012. Was initially started with a white paper that talked about Bitcoin. Now, how does Bitcoin and blockchain work as an industry is what is relative. So probably the first part to understand about is what is a blockchain. Mark, do you want to have a crack at trying to explain that?
Yeah, I can. I'm not the best with jargon, so I'll do my best. Jargon's, I don't like jargon because it's confusing to people sometimes, but I'll do my best to explain it without all the ins and out words. I don't know. Did you want to do a screen share with the explanation from, or do you want me to just shoot a bit of an explanation and go from there?
We found a video and it's from Monkey Go. It's from a little while ago. So we need to give a shout out to Monkey Go. And we're going to sort of also interrupt this video as it goes. It's about 3 minutes long, but it gives a fairly decent explanation. I'm only hoping that the actual sound comes through properly. So this is all trial and error, guys. So you'll just have to give us a fair share as we go. And let's see how we go with this. It jumped forward on me. How dare it do that? Let's try that.
It doesn't look like we're getting the sound that much. I can't hear much on my end.
Sorry, what was that, Mark?
Said I'm not getting the sound on my end, so we might not be getting the sound.
Okay, well, that's a pain.
But at least it's got decent headings.
Well, I wonder why that is. That no sound from video on Rumble. Okay, so it looks like we're not going to get sound through on that. That's something I'm going to have to work on. Yeah. All right, so maybe we are going to use that. But okay.
You might be better if we can't get the sound. You might want to just use the XRP ledger example that I gave you.
Yeah. Okay. So that will be this one here
because it's got good pictures.
All right. Yep. So we'll use.
If you
that.
go into what is the XRP ledger, and then
all right,
we can scroll down to what is a blockchain.
I wonder if I can put that full screen. There we go. Right. So hopefully you can still hear Mark and myself while we're doing that. So, Mark, take it away.
What is a blockchain? A blockchain is a continuously growing list of records. The blockchain starts with a block of data. A group of trusted validator nodes reach consensus that the data is valid. So instead of just having a script kind of thing or a line of data, they now put them into blocks where they can put a hell of a lot of data into one very small space. And then using a group of trusted validator nodes, they talk to each other and reach a consensus where they'll say if 80% of the nodes talking to each other that are crunching all the numbers, if they all say we agree that this is legitimate and this is all the same information, then they all hit OK and form the block and then put it onto the back of the chain. So the block keep going on this, and we can say the block is uniquely identified with a very elaborate. Just go back up for a second. With a very elaborate, complicated, computer-generated cryptographic hash number that is 64 hexadecimal characters long. So that's the block.
Let's just stop it there for a second.
You might even be better.
Go, what's a hexadecimal?
Yeah, what's a hexadecimal?
Okay.
Well, that's 6 decimal places, right?
Well, yes and no. Hexadecimal is using a base 16 set. Now, what that basically means, like with computers, when computers first came out, they were using binary, which is a 1 and a 0. Okay, so you do 1 0 1 1 0 1 1, and that would give you a dedicated number like 256 or 128 or 64, depending on the layout of that. But as computers grew and things got bigger, they needed to address more areas. So they started changing that, and they went to octal, which is an 8-character bit set. Then they went to hexadecimal. Now, the way hexadecimal works is it uses numbers and letters of the alphabet, but only as high as the letter F. So it uses 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Then it goes to A, B, C, D, E, and F. Now, F apparently is equal to 16. Right? So when you put FF together, you've got 16 times by 16. And whatever number that comes out to be, which is too much for my brain to calculate at this stage, is what that is. So if you put FFFF together, you've got 16 times by 16 times by 16 times by 16 to the power of, right? 16 to the power of 4, effectively. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. So that's what hexadecimal is. So that's a bit of just a little bit of computer history, but that might explain just how elaborate those keys are, because it's a massive combination of all of that amount of numbers, right? Whatever 16 is to the 4th power. So, and
you've also just explained to me why I see a lot of F's in my addresses that I have.
Yeah. Yeah. So imagine a hexadecimal number with F's in it that is 64 characters long.
Yeah.
Right. That's a huge amount of data numbers, but that's effectively how that works. So anyway, that's where your 64 hexadecimal character long string comes from.
Interesting. That's very interesting.
So that's some computer geek stuff. Sorry, didn't mean to geek out on you. You wish to carry on?
Yeah, feel free, mate. Feel free. Okay, right. So we've got the block is also identified by a timestamp with a creation time. So that's part of the validation process. So they know exactly when it was printed, and then they've got the when, where, on what, all the data chains kind of thing to identify that piece of data on the blockchain, so they know each node can validate that data, make it part of the blockchain, and continue on. That's that, I suppose.
All right. So if we try and simplify that down for people, how will we do that?
I don't know. What do you think?
Okay, it's a ledger, right? So we all sort of know what a ledger is, right? It's a book usually, which has multiple pages in it, and then you add and subtract stuff inside the ledger, and eventually it totals up underneath. So if you look at a blockchain as a book, you're going to get an idea on how a blockchain works. You start the blockchain off, so you open up the front cover, and the very first page is one block. If that makes sense. And you write stuff into that block. And at the bottom of the page, we get our computers all over the world who have a copy of that first page. They all validate that page and say, yes, this looks correct. The next computer looks at it and says, yes, this looks correct. Right, their copy looks correct and it matches the copy from computer number 1. The third one says it matches the copy from number 1 and number 2. And the fourth one says that I match the copy for number 1, 2, and 3. And if they all agree that the ledger is the same, then that is written to the blockchain as an irrevocable record. It is there. It's done. Once that blockchain has been signed off, that page has been signed off, it cannot be altered. At least that's the theory. I know that there are some blockchains out there where they can, but that's it. So the next block comes along is really the second page in the book. And they do exactly the same process again. Now, the question being, why is this useful as a business? And I'm going to throw it to Mark, see if he can give me some ideas.
Well, for one, it allows proper records of every transaction that ever takes place, and it doesn't allow people to derivatize the information or the data or the value of the information or the data or what's carried on this specific ledger. That's one of the main reasons that it's quite valuable, is that it's going to, in theory, it will stop a lot of people fudging the records in their favor. And hopefully, if used properly and put into the hands of the people, hopefully it will allow us to take a bit more record of the government and the way they fudge the records. feel free to add to any
Yeah.
anything else you think.
That's actually a fairly good option. But see, the data that's stored in one of these ledgers doesn't just have to be financial data, right?
No, it can be anything. That's the
any
beauty
sort of
of
data.
these things. Yeah.
Right. You could store in there a digitized version of the deed to your house. You could store in there digitized of all your birth records, for instance, etc. So it can be any sort of data that can be stored digitally, can be added into the blockchain for a permanent record.
And it's
So
quite.
wouldn't that
And
be interesting if?
sorry,
Go.
you would be alluding to security there, I assume.
I would be. Exactly. Wouldn't it be interesting if all of the government spending was on a blockchain that we could look up and find out what they spent it on? Wouldn't that be interesting?
Yeah, that's.
I wonder how they would explain the discrepancies in certain money not being where it's supposed to be. But yeah.
Or the extra money that they just happened to come up with when they said their pockets were empty, but then all of a sudden they had all this extra money that they found under the couch.
So in this example that we can see here on the screen, we've got the first hash, the second hash, the third hash. So this is page 1, page 2, page 3, showing up here on the screen just here. And these are linked. So it's not like you can not go back down the chain and query anywhere along the chain, because you can, because they're all linked together. And that's why it's a blockchain, and that's why the records become immutable. And the fact that they are validated each time a chain is written. Now, of course, where does cryptocurrency come into this? You know how when you go to the bank and you make a transfer to somewhere overseas or whatever, you get a fee to transfer that money, right? Usually an exchange rate or whatever as it goes through. That is where blockchains make their money. What they do is they set up a token or a coin of some sort as a fee that gets charged for the power and stuff used to actually make this chain. And that's where a lot of people invest in their cryptos, because if it's a good project that's doing good things and there's a lot of transactions on the chain, it makes that particular coin valuable. And that's where Bitcoin comes into play, because Bitcoin was the first one of that. But yeah, so if we carry on down here, we can see it creates an open distributed ledger for records, transactions between parties, effective and verifiable, and in a permanent way. Once the record and the data is given to any block, it cannot be altered retrospectively unless the majority of the validators agree to the change. Right now, validators is the interesting point, because who controls the validators? Right, they can be controlled by a single entity, or they can be controlled by the public, which means that, say, Mark or myself could start an XP ledger chain and hook into this particular ledger record, and we could be one of the validators. So because we're an independent person, the company can't just come to us and say, change this. Right? It has to be voted upon. We have to agree to it and all that sort of stuff. So that becomes a part of it.
Yeah, it also means that people can't just hack into the blockchain.
Yeah,
and
so
and create new coins or steal coins, because everything has to be validated with consensus by the overwhelming majority of the validators. And it also brings into question, we're talking decentralization and centralization. So if you've got a hell of a lot of validators all around the world, you've got a decentralized network that can't be hacked into by governments or can't be controlled by governments, and that's the biggest.
There's a thing called trust and trustless societies in blockchain, and I'll explain a bit about trust and trustless in a little while, or if not in this show, another show. You see how it goes. So Sunflower's got here. It's like everything else that those in the know profit from it. Don't tell anyone else, nor neither anyone else gets it or goes about their life humbly. I'm a terrible reader, just ask Carl. Doing what they can do. Right. Effectively, yes, it is. People don't fully understand how blockchains work. And this is part of what we're trying to do with this show, is give people a bit of an idea. And of course, we'll have our own opinions in here as well. And we might advise, or we won't advise. We don't give any financial advice, but we might suggest that there are certain things worth looking at or not looking at. This comment comes in. So if the system crashes or shut down, what if everything is wiped and reset? Then everyone loses the value of the fake blockchain. No, because effectively, yes, a system could crash and shut down. The only way that that would be effective in the world is if everybody in the world was to lose power, right? Because like they might have a validator in the US, another one in the UK, 2 or 3 or 4 in Australia, some in Papua New Guinea, New Zealand, all over the world. The only way for a system to fully crash would be for either A, there to be some error in the actual coding that runs the blockchain, or B, that everybody lost power in the world and there's nobody to look up the blockchain for in the first place. And blockchains are built with a consensus algorithm that if there is an error, right, it takes the most valid, the number of nodes that agree the most to take care of that error and make that record permanent. So it's a good question though, Denise Biz. I like it. It was a brilliant question. Well done. Moving on, let's just scroll down a bit further. It tells you how the process of consensus work here. We won't get into a lot of depths there, but you can see how they're all sharing their information with each other. Now, XRP is but one of many, many, many blockchains out there. And technology today is allowing blockchains and providing the speed of the internet's good enough to actually create what is called virtual machines, which is a whole different kettle of fish that I'm not going to explore at this stage because I don't know enough about it. And Mark just went and disappeared off the screen, and just as I was about to bring us back up. So let's come back up. There we are. We're back.
My feet were getting extremely cold.
It's having to put the Ugg boots on. Right. Yeah. You could get a reasonably warm hoodie from us.
I do. I'd need to get one, don't I?
I'm actually looking at a thicker grade one that's got.
I heard you talking about that the other night. I was excited. I was like, "Whoa, that's my style of hoodie. A nice thick."
So we will look into that. But even still, guys, if you got questions, please put them up in there, and I will put them through as we go. Right. Another thing about. Sorry, go.
Oh, so I was just going to add to the argument of that people are having with the you don't hold it, you don't own it, that kind of argument of with everything breaking down, and it's like, yes, it is a fair argument, but if we're in a world where there's no power, we're going to have a hell of a lot more problems than worrying about what our cryptocurrency is doing and that kind of stuff. And in saying that, I think we're moving into a world where we might just happen to get free energy and things like that coming. They're going to maybe roll out some technology where we don't have to worry about the power ever going out. And we're going to roll into maybe some technology, or we're definitely seeing the breakdown of the fiat system to where the spending power of $1 is, 3 cents or something. So your money's not worth anything. So even if you're walking around with things in your pocket that's just not worth anything, and they're only going to inflate it even out of existence. So we are, whether we like it or not, we're coming into a crux where the system's going to change, and we look at the world we live in. We live in 2025. We live in the world of technology. We're not going to go backwards. They're not going to go handing out shillings and pence and gold and silver to people that we carry around in a little purse. That's not going to happen. They might tokenize all that stuff and put it on the blockchain.
You mean like that?
Yeah, but when that's going to be good for. I've got a little bit of silver too, but it's when it comes to moving big amounts of money or people even traveling distances, no one's you're gonna have to load up the ute just to go and pay your bills, which is not gonna happen.
That's all right
So
if you've got a ute. If you haven't got a ute, you but, well, Denise Biz, hence if you don't hold it, you don't own it. Right? Wrong. You still own it on the ledge chain. You are right in one respect, but then again, I ask you this question: when you have money in the bank, are you holding it? Do you own it?
Yeah, no, you don't.
Right. If the bank goes down, do you have access to your cash?
No.
No. So what's the difference between that and a blockchain?
Yeah, people need to look up what's called a bail-in. People would have heard of a bailout where the government bails the banks out, but you need to look up a bail-in. That a bail-in is when the banks crash or the bank and they take all your money, and they call it a bail-in and say your money, the money that's in your account, is technically our money if you look at the contract, and if we need it to survive, we're going to take it. And that's what they do, and that's what hopefully they're not going to do, but it looks like they're starting to when they're questioning everybody, saying, what are you going to use your money for? Why you can't take $5,000 out? What do you want it for? Because they're kind of saying, well, it's our money and we'll give it to you if you give us a good enough reason.
Exactly. Yeah. And they do that quite regularly now, which is a bit of a worry. And that comes into the trust and trustless subject that we might get a chance to talk about later. Donna's asked, can I ask what the term wrapped means, like as in wrapped ETH? Right. Very heavy. First off, getting into what is wrapping. Basically, wrapped means that they are guaranteeing the ETH amount, but on a different blockchain, not a native Ethereum blockchain, but a different blockchain. Yeah. Right. We need to investigate wrapped more, because while it has some good value or good options to it, it can also set you up to be caught in a trap where someone's pretending to wrap something that they don't really have in the first place.
I was going to say that's a very good way for them to take your valuable tokens and give you a token that they've just basically invented themselves on the blockchain. It's on the it's a legitimate token on that blockchain or on another blockchain, but they're using your legitimate ETH token, because if you're giving them ETH and they're wrapping it onto another token, then they've got hold of your ETH and they've given you a less valuable token technically in exchange, and told you that token has value. Where we're definitely coming to that point where people need to start proving how and why their token has value, because it needs to do something. If it's not doing anything, they can promise the world, but if it's not doing it, then it won't have value.
Now, what do we mean by, hang on, that didn't work, add to stage, thank you, and take that off of there. What do we mean by different tokens? These here just give you a bit of an idea on some of the various blockchains that exist at the moment. This is just the first page. Right, as you can see, scrolling down here, and I'll get down to the bottom here, which says 100, and there's 175 pages of that.
Yeah, I think there's
now all of these.
2,000.
Sorry,
I think there's at least 2,000 tokens.
I think right up the top it will actually tell us. Right up top, coins 17,435. Just there.
That's gone up a lot since I last looked.
Now, each of these are various organizations or companies that are being built that use a blockchain type ledger, and we can see that XRP is fourth on the list here, with Bitcoin being up the top, which it always has been. Everybody waits for a Bitcoin flip, but we haven't seen that yet. But these are people that have valid. There are a lot of people out there who are startup companies that are using tokenization or a coin to try and start their business. And there's a lot of scammers out there who just create a fake business so that they hope people will invest, and then they sell that coin off in the markets and make a heap of money, and you get left with nothing. So you've got to be really careful about what you're doing or where you're dealing in cryptocurrency. So if you're just starting to get in, play it smart, right? The first 10 on this list,
Yeah.
I'll set for Lido Staked ETH. I'd be cautious that's a new one, right? But the first 9 at least on here have been around for years,
Yeah.
absolute years. So they're a proven equitable organization or blockchain to get into. Okay,
so I would be very wary of Tron and Dogecoin, and there's also there's also a couple of stable coins in there which technically shouldn't be there, but they are.
Well, stable coins is something else that we'll talk about in another thing, because there's been a big announcement now that one of the major online selling companies, I can't remember which one it is actually looking to now accept stable coins as a form of payment.
Yeah.
So,
well, that's
very interesting.
That's going to be, stable coins are going to be the kind of link between the real world fiat to the cryptocurrency world to get things started. They're going to use stable coins, most likely back stable coins with treasuries or bonds, possibly gold, and then run those on the XRP ledger, on the XLM ledger, and trade oil. Probably they haven't announced it yet, but I'm going to say they'll trade oil and gold and all the commodities via the stable coins, using the stable coins as the means of settlement, but they'll be run on the XRP ledger, XLM ledger. Maybe a couple other ones, but that's probably, we can get further into that down the road.
Yeah, no, I know what you're saying. I mean, Denise, you're looking there and you say, if I had, someone told you to buy it 5 years ago, and if you'd bought them through a valid location right now, you'd be worth 35 million. Yeah, I looked at the original white paper way back in 2011, and I was going to put in $10,000 and buy $10,000 worth of Bitcoin, but life got in the way and other things happened. So can you imagine what I'd have been worth today? Oof. Anyway,
yeah. That's the thing. We missed out on Bitcoin, but I promise you, we're not too late on some of these other ones. If you get in and you're smart, and it's time in the market. Time in the market beats timing the market. That's one of the things I've learned on my journey. That you can sit on the sidelines all you want and think, oh, I'm just going to wait for it to go lower. I'm going to jump in at this time. But then I guarantee you, when it goes lower or whatever, you'll be too scared to buy, or you won't have the money. The best way to do it is just chip away, set a goal, and just chip away at it. And eventually you get there. And then once you've got to your target, don't be scared to. You've got to understand. Don't be scared to do your research and understand what you hold, and do the time. Let time do the heavy lifting for you. And I guarantee you are early. There's less than 1% of the world has even held a cryptocurrency in their wallet. So we're that early still. Even though Bitcoin's 100 grand and some of these other ones have ran a bit, we are still very early. We've got a long way to go.
Okay. There's some other stuff from Denise Biz there. I'll catch that later in the text once we finish the show. But we're probably getting ourselves a little carried away here. The whole idea of this first one was to be.
Yeah, we need to get back to the wallets and stuff. We're talking too much.
So, okay. So one of the things that is relative that I think that needs to be done is a bit of an explanation about private keys and public keys, right? And what that's relative when you create an account on the blockchain. So if you were to say purchase some XRP or some Bitcoin or some ETH, right, you create an account on the blockchain that is tied directly to you. So you're given a public key, a public key. Let me highlight the right one. Try that. That's better. I'm on the other screen. So this is a public key, and Alice gets onto the blockchain, she gets a public key, and Bob gets on the blockchain, he gets a public key. But he also gets set up with a private key, which is a 64-bit hexadecimal character type key, and a password, which is derived from that private key, which means that for him to access and move any funds, Bob has to know what his private key is and also what his password is. Now, most wallets will hold your private key, but they won't hold your password. So if you type in the wrong password, it'll go, does this password match the encryption that I've used to create this private key? If it doesn't, you don't get in, right? But what's the public key all about? Well, the public key is the front-facing side. So if you've got a bank account, for instance, and you want to, if I wanted to send money to Mark through the bank, how do I do that?
I would
Right?
have to
What
give
do
you
I-
my bank account numbers.
You give me what?
I would have to give you my bank account numbers.
Right. So what bank account numbers are those?
They would be my BSB and my account number. Possibly
Right,
also
so-
my account name. I think I would have to give you.
As well. Yeah. Well, you don't always have to use the name, but yes, it's best to, so they can confirm better if they have to backtrack. But yeah, so your bank account number, your BSB number, and your account number is public facing key. So banking's already using this. We just don't comprehend that it's using it. Right. So I can send money to Mark, no problems at all. I will go into my bank. I'll put in Mark's BSB number and his account number. Or if he's got Pay ID, I might use his email address or his phone number. Both of those also work. And then I would send what I wanted to Mark. And then through a system called OSCO, which is really just a ledger on the blockchain that is private and nobody else can use or see, it gets sent through to Mark and he gets that money. However, the only way Mark can access that money, other than the fact that it's tied into his bank account, is he has to log in with his private key and his password, which will be his special identified account ID that they've given him and whatever password he's generated. So there's your public key and there's your private key in basic simplification. Does anybody want to question or ask questions on that before we move on?
And it's also another way to put that too, is that in a way that some of the companies are selling crypto around the world to a lot of people, is that it is effectively your own bank account in your pocket.
Yeah.
It's your own bank, even. Sorry, I shouldn't even say bank account. It's your own bank in your pocket. You pay your own fees through the blockchain. You don't pay fees to a bank. You don't have overdraft, withdrawal fees, anything like that. You just have a set up blockchain account, and it pays fees as you use it. And it's peer-to-peer. So it's government free.
There's no middleman.
Free, yeah. That's the selling point, is it's a bank in your pocket. So it's the private key bank account analogy is probably the perfect analogy, because it literally is a bank in your pocket.
Yeah. So that comes back to trust and trustless, right? So what is trust and trustless? So when I send money to Mark, right, through the banking system, I'm trusting that bank will send that money through to Mark. Now, does that always work? No. What about if I want to send money to, say, I'm lucky because my bank allows it, but there are some banks that don't. If I wanted to send some money through to where I purchase my cryptocurrency, right? I'm saying I want to commit to this transaction, and the bank says, no, you don't. We're not allowing it. So you're trusting them to determine what it is that you want to do with your funds. In a trustless society, there is no middleman. I've got my account. I'm sending it directly to Mark's account on the crypto blockchain, and the computers process that. So there's nobody that can interfere in that middle of that transaction. And that's why it's a bank in your own pocket, because nobody controls your wallet but you. Nobody controls your account on the chain but you. Unless, of course, you get hacked and somebody steals it, but effectively, nobody does. And that's why it's trustless, because I control it. I trust me, right? But there's nobody else that I need to trust to make that transfer. So as long as Mark's account exists, I can send the money there and all's good. Note, I said as long as Mark's account exists. I can send it by mistake to somebody else's account because that would be easy to do, and that money's gone. So that's a problem with the trustless. It's gone. You can't get it back. Not unless that person's kind enough to say, oh, who are you? And send it back to you, which most people probably wouldn't. But anyway, so that's what a wallet is. A wallet is a way of accessing your blockchain accounts. And in this particular instance here, we have a desktop wallet that you can use on your computer or on your phone, or even a web type version of it. And what you do is you are putting in your public key, your password, etc., and it will generate a wallet for you that you can access, and you can put your contents in. Now, for each particular thing, say you want some Bitcoin, you will get a Bitcoin wallet generated on this chain that looks after your wallet, and you transfer your funds into that wallet. You get to keep that. You are the only one who knows the private and the public keys, right? To the rest of the world, they can only see the public. So they would transfer money, and this becomes your bank. So these wallets here are your bank. Now, we will spend a bit of time, not in this episode, but we will go into how these wallets work and how you can use them and the multitude of different wallets there are. We've got, I think, 2 that we're showing here.
Yeah, we've got Exodus and Zarman.
Yeah.
Zarman's the native wallet to the XRP ledger. So anybody out there that's got XRP and wants to put it in a very safe place, this is the wallet that's designed and ran by Ripple, or a constituent of Ripple, partner of Ripple, and it's supposedly the safest one out there for XRP. They haven't had any dramas with it. And I've downloaded it. I haven't used it myself because I have a lot of mine sitting in on an exchange and in Exodus, which I've used for a very long time. But it's Zarman is supposedly proven by many people out there, and I've brought it in to show you guys because it's promoted by Ripple themselves, who run the XRP ledger.
All right. So the next bit is I'm noticing a bit of comments that the biggest problem about owning your own bank is making sure you never forget what your key passes or your passwords are for that bank. There are people out there who have lost millions in Bitcoin because they don't remember their password. And trying to crack one of these passwords, I'm literally trying to help someone out. I have a computer that's running over there that is busily trying to brute force his password. Right? It's been going for 2.5 years now, and I still haven't cracked it.
Good luck.
Yeah, there's chances are that I won't. I mean, he's given me some good ideas and similar words to it, but I haven't been able to find the correct combination yet. Wow. So effectively, sorry, go, Mark.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, and this is where we bring in the institutional custody, where Caleb and Brown. We haven't got an example for them, but we've mentioned them on Carl's show. They're easy to look up. Caleb and Brown, spelt Caleb and Brown. They are doing institutional grade custody, where they will insure your assets for you. They have promised and supposedly contractually promised everybody that Even if they were to go bankrupt, they don't have any of your assets on their data sheets at all, so you would never lose any of your assets. You would always get your assets back. They are also insured by Fireblocks, which is the crypto the wallet that they use, which is, I think, a decentralized wallet. But that's one of the big stepping stones or hurdles that the industry has had to get over, is people being worried to hold, and rightfully so, worried to hold or lose their keys to their wallet and never be able to get their funds back. And that's why we've now got a lot of it's Caleb and Brown's based in Australia, or they started in Australia, but they're also they're so big they moved into America and England, I think, now. There's also a couple of other companies out there that have stepped into the space and are providing the institutional grade custody, just like a bank. I assume that the banks aren't going to just let these companies take all the money and the profits from doing that for people. And I assume they're going to come in pretty soon once we see a bit more regulation in the market, come in and say, okay, we're going to do this for you as well, just like we'd hold your normal money.
Peter Grace has dropped in a beautiful one here. My mother had 11 Bitcoin, but the website is now defunct and shut down. Even my genius computer nerd brother couldn't recover it. Mum now buys bullion, which is a smart move. You hold it in your hands, and so you can in that respect. Now, that is one of the traps of having things on here. Like, for instance, I'll just show. This is CoinJar here, is one of the places here in Australia where you can actually buy crypto. Right. Another one, which is the one that I use, is CoinSpot. And they've been around for quite some time. But when I buy something on CoinJar or on, I'm not sure about CoinJar, but definitely on here, if I was to buy some Bitcoin in this account and I purchase it, it lands in a wallet on their server, right? Even though it's tied to my username and password and I can access it, it's the wallet on their server. Now, should they go bankrupt or bust, then I have no access to that wallet, which is the whole reason why you need to have your own wallet, like an Exodus wallet or a Ledger or something, where you transfer those monies to you and you actually hold on to that wallet and those keys and those passwords, because then it's not tied into the bank or tied into the website's things at all. I can jump on any other app or use any other program, and I could transfer from my wallet to Mark's wallet in a wallet-to-wallet transaction, because I'm the one who's holding the wallet, not the website. So one of the key things, if you're going to purchase from websites like this, make sure that you have a wallet of your own, that you can then take it from that website and put it into your own wallet. Right? That's a very, very important thing.
And the only other security factor that I kind of used on that is that CoinSpot and CoinJar are Australian companies. So I've held a little bit of coin on there for a while on my CoinJar account. Never had any dramas with CoinJar, though I always kind of took some a little bit of security, knowing that they're an Australian company, and if they do rip me off, I would most likely have some recourse through fair trading and things like that to find them in some aspect. But that's why we've sort of bought in CoinSpot and CoinJar. But definitely, if you can, Australia's now got enough companies over here that I would advise to use the Australian company, or maybe Coinbase. Coinbase is probably the only other one that I'd recommend. They're based in the UK, but they've been around for a long time.
Yeah,
and they're not known. They're not going to steal anyone's money.
Yeah, Coinbase is one of the biggest companies that's out there, and they run their own blockchain called Base, as a matter of fact, which has its own tokens and bits and pieces, of which I have a couple in, not much, but a little bit. But effectively, yes, if you're going to buy from the Australian companies. I can CoinJar, I'm not sure about because I don't use that one, but the one that I do use has just gone through yet another audit. It's ASIC registered, so it goes through all the relevant stuff that the federal government needs. It also means that if you're buying products on there or coins or tokens, they are not hidden from the Australian Tax Department. Just telling you that. So
yeah,
it means that the tax
you
department,
definitely get a notice from the tax office saying we know you have cryptocurrency.
yeah, right. It is that. But once again, people who are looking at cryptocurrency are either looking at it because they can make some reasonably significant gains, or it's a way where their money's not tied into a bank account or a bank and they own it, not anybody else. So that is the thing. It is your own bank in your home. Like I showed you the silver coins before from Ainsley. All right, these ones here, the 10th silver rounds. I own these. This is mine. This is my bank. Right, for my Bitcoin, for my XRP, and I bought some XRP because I thought the timing was right, and there's been some good news on that. But and Mark might have influenced me a little bit. Effectively, I own those XRP because they're in my wallet, right? Not on the chain, not in somebody's website on their bulk wallets. So that's always a key point in there. Now, it's been cryptocurrency blockchains. They've been around for 12 plus years now, 13 plus years, and they go through cycles. And in another program, we'll talk about cycles and why things go up and down. And it's not much different to running stock, to be honest. All right. But either way, it's still something that's there. So we've been going for nearly 52 minutes. Let's just see what some people have to say. So Peter Grace, what have we got here? Pete, I use CoinSpock as an alternative to a short-term bank. My real bank is my bullion bank. Yep. If the world was to go to shit in a handbasket, right, it would probably fall out of the bottom of the handbasket because we'll be in that much shit. But effectively, having something that is physical, for instance, silver or gold, gives you something to trade with, right? But if I go that far in the shit, food would be another one. Just saying. All right. What's Stu got to say?
Anyone out there worried about that the power's going to go out? I hope that you've got a big food prep, a big food storage, because you guys are worried. You guys should be prepared.
Yeah, well, we did sort of discuss about why aren't we asking questions last night in the Voice of Freedom free for all.
Oh, we've got one in here. Sorry, we've got one in here on Theta. I'll just jump on that one. Theta, hold on to your Theta. It'll do its thing. Pretty proven. It's been around for a long time. I used to hold that, though I got out of it. And just because and I wish I didn't, because it ran and I didn't make as much money as I should have. It was ridiculous. But yeah, hold on to your Theta. Hold on to your Theta. Oh, sorry, Vince. Sorry for jumping in, Vince. But
no, you're good. That's exactly what you're here for, mate. Exactly. Right. We've all done that where we've sold, like the Ripple that I had, right? Because learning to live, I've had to sell off some of my crypto, and I decided Ripple hasn't moved anywhere for 4+ years, and the big fight they had finished some time ago, and it still hadn't moved. And lo and behold, I thought, oh yeah, all right, I'll sell my Ripple. And so I made maybe 10 cents per Ripple on it. So it wasn't much. And then not 2 weeks later, it went from 70 something cents to $3. Like, you gotta be kidding me. You gotta be kidding me. All right. So
that's why you got to know what you hold. You got to do your research, know what you hold.
But yeah, that's the way it is. So each of these companies that develop a cryptocurrency or a coin, that's you need to research what the company is doing. You need to see what their goal is and what they're about. I mean, Dogecoin, you mentioned that earlier. Dogecoin is a meme coin. Now people are going, what's a meme coin?
It just
meme
went
coin,
big because Elon Musk pumped it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's been around since the start, right, of Bitcoin, of cryptocurrency as well.
It has no utility. It could do stuff, but it literally has no utility. It's just a meme coin. But it went big because Elon Musk got behind it, and all the people that love Elon Musk went, well, this is probably going to do something, and it did. But it has no utility. You're 100% right in saying look for the coins that have utility. If it's doing
so you need to explain what utility is, Mark, before we finish up.
Utility is providing a service. How does it make somebody money? What does it do to provide value to somebody, something, some entity somewhere? You can kind of look at it like literally like a utility ute and say, what does how am I going to make money with my utility ute? Well, you're going to probably put things in the back of it and you're going to cart it across town and you're going to drop it off and then you're going to put something up and then you're going to drive back and you're going to put something else in the back of it and then you're going to take it over to somebody and they're going to give you money because you delivered them something with your utility ute. And that's what a blockchain is doing. It's picking up something from somewhere, data or information, and it's taking it somewhere else and delivering value to another person in another place. It's that simple. But it is how does it do it? How fast does it do it? How efficiently does it do it? And it basically, is it actually doing what they say it does? There's so many companies out there that say, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. But is it actually doing it? Is it in the real world? Can they show you that we said we were going to do this? Here's the evidence of what we've done. And that's where an XRP, a Stellar, Bitcoin technically doesn't do anything, but it is what it is. Ethereum is doing
the store. It's the one that everybody uses value. It's the gold of the crypto, basically.
It was the first. It does. Yeah, it will be dethroned. XRP will eventually. I'm going to put out a big prediction here, but XRP will eventually take the place.
Doubtful. I agree on that, but the utility is really important. See, the program you were talking about before, that was being run here in Australia. What was that one again? The new one,
the Caleb and Brown.
Yeah, that one. See, what's its utility? Its utility is the ability to safeguard and protect your crypto and your passwords and all that information.
Yeah,
right. So
that's not even technically a token, but yeah, that's why they're in the market, because they're providing value in to the market, saying we can provide this service to you, and that's exactly what a token has to do. It has to provide service to something.
Yeah,
and unless it's doing that, there's a hell of a lot of things out there that they just do nothing. They're meme coins, and they'll take your money. You got to be very, very careful.
Oh yeah, indeed. I mean, I've lost plenty in various things that I thought looked good, but then the companies never progressed or just went bankrupt, and it's just the way it are. But we'll talk about other things in crypto as we move along. Various genres that are in crypto, for instance, AI, meme coins, real. What's the word I'm looking for? Real estate. It's not real estate, but where you can actually tokenize or put stuff on the blockchain that is real world. For instance, ownerships of cars, etc. All that sort of stuff that's out there.
Had some
real world assets.
We've had some great examples of that from Dubai lately with the XRP ledger tokenizing homes.
Just give a quick explanation of that one, because I read that article too, and that was impressive, except that we can't get involved yet.
Yeah, unfortunately, we can't get involved because it's only open to people in the UAE. But they've tokenized I think it's is it kind of like apartment buildings or things like that, and they've split it up into shares where you can get in for, I think it's like $500 to $1,000 a share, and they've basically just tokenized the ownership, put the deeds on the ledger, and sold parts of property to people in the UAE, and they've already sold out. That's tokenizing real estate. That's allowing people that don't have the capital to get in and buy a big property or buy a whole property to own something and own an asset.
Yeah. And then, of course, we'll just see how that expands. But that was backed by some fairly decent sized companies and whatever as well. So,
oh, yeah. I can't remember those details.
Yeah. No, me either at this stage. I like that. I think the Eagles song Desperado. Yeah. Sometimes it can be a bit desperado when you're dealing in cryptocurrency, but hopefully over our bits and pieces as we discuss things in the crypto world, we can assist you a bit in what's going on. As I said, I'm no master at this. Mark is not either. So even though both of us have been in crypto for, well, I've been in there since 2017. When did you get in?
About 2015.
Okay. So
about
even
10
now,
years.
even now we are still learning things as we're going and still being. But this business is about, as I said, no financial advice is given here. Suggestions maybe, but always do your own research, no matter what.
Yeah.
Okay. Happy for you to just send any questions if you want through to Vince at fbnmedia.online. You can get me there. I'll post that in the comments, and I'll share them with Mark. And
any questions, any topics that you want us to talk about, any particular coins too that you might want to speak about, I'll do my best for you to do a bit of research and have a look. That can help though. It's, you all kind of know what I like. I'm going to tell you, buy XRP.
Yeah, well, I have a few others that I like as well. But effectively speaking, we'll try and go through more details on each subject as we can. This is our first live show. We want to make it live so that you guys can ask questions of us, and we'll try and do it roughly around this time each Saturday. We're only going to do once a week at this stage, unless, of course, you guys really want us, and then we can try doing a couple more. But trying to find time when Mark's available and I'm available. Carl's a slave driver. He keeps me under tow. So,
Vince is a very busy man.
But
yeah, it's more when you're available, Vince. You're so busy.
Yeah, well, it's what happens. So it's not bad for a person who's theoretically unemployed. So, and not unemployable, but I would love to become unemployable. But that's another
ungovernable.
thing. Ungovernable. Yep, indeed. All right, guys. Well, I hope you liked our little intro and what we had for that. It's also the same thing that I'm going to exit this. So thank you very much, Mark, for coming on. And Mark will be a permanent co-host on this. So we'll be doing this all the time. I'm trying to find my media assets. There it is. Found it. And with that, we will say good night for tonight. Please click the like and subscribe button so that you know that when we're coming on, etc. Feel free to put comments in. I will go through those comments and I will read them on both the Rumble and the FBN Media channel on YouTube. I'm sure Mark will be wading his way through there as well. So feel free to go in there and do what you need to do. Make your comments. You can be abusive if you like. That's all right. We'll probably just delete it. Right, bring it on. But effectively, we're there to try and assist as we can. Now, one thing I do want to raise, the last time that there was something about crypto on, people started pasting their recovery keys. Now, we didn't discuss recovery keys and creating of a Bitcoin wallet, but we will in the next show. remind me that we have to do that in the next show, Mark. But do not ever paste your recovery keys into the chat, right? Because me, Mark, anybody can grab those, recreate your wallet, and get access to your funds. As soon as I saw them, I deleted them, right? I got rid of them because they are just a very quick way to allow somebody else to steal your money. A recovery key is a way that you can recreate your wallet on a different device. Say, for instance, I've generated one on my computer. I get a set of recovery keys. Now, if my computer blows up, bang, right, I can reload that software on, type in my recovery keys, which is usually 12 individual words, and that will recover my wallet from the blockchain. So please make sure you never post them. That's private information. The same as your password. Never, ever post them, especially online. All right. Sorry, I just realized that. Make that. Any wonderful words of wisdom before we go? We're an hour and 6. Usually we can talk. Bloody hell.
We've done well. I'm stoked. Thought we might not have enough to say on this first episode, so we've done well. Talking about wallets, I think we're doing well. I can't wait to get into the good stuff.
Quick question. What do you think about what's going to happen with the cryptocurrency relative to the current spat going on over in between Israel and Iran?
Well, it seems to be most of the time the wars don't do well for the markets. If the main markets go down, the cryptocurrency markets will follow. Unfortunately, they're probably not going to start pumping. I doubt that. Most people will start kind of thinking, oh crap, and dry up anything they're willing to put in. But I think when the Russia-Ukraine started, I don't think the market liked that too much from memory. So I wouldn't be thinking that it's going to start pumping. That's for sure. That's why I hope this thing doesn't really take off too much, because I mean they've been trying to start a war with Iran for 6 months, a year. And they've finally done it. But at least they haven't got the backing. US has said we don't condone this and all that kind of stuff, so they're not going to jump in. But for the markets, I wouldn't be expecting too much. It's put it this way: the market goes up. I think Bitcoin or XRP, probably Bitcoin is probably the better example. It goes up 12 days a year.
Oh, it goes up a lot more than that. I can guarantee that.
No, but actually makes new
highs.
Like new prices, like higher prices, in a way, but it's like to dig itself out. Like it does this, but to actually where it's a noticeable increase in price, it's like 12 days. So that's why it's a new
all-time high is what you're talking about.
Don't try and time the market. That's what you got to be in there. You got to be in there ready to go. That's probably my words of wisdom. Don't time the market. Just if you've got money and you're thinking about doing it, there's no time like the present. I mean, if you want to wait for World War III, you might get some cheaper prices then. But other than that, I think there's no time like the present. People that just keep waiting, they seem to just keep putting their heads in their hand, going, "Crap, I missed out again. Again."
Yeah. Well, next week we'll talk about bull markets and how they happen, and bear markets. And what is a bear market, and why so many people lost lots of money because of a bear market. But that's a regular thing, and that occurs a lot. It is a good time to buy. I sort of agree with that. At the moment, there's a bit of a drop, so yes. But as I said, be careful what you buy. All right. So those top 9 or so, that's a reasonably good option. Even Doge, because in all fairness, I've made significant amounts on Doge. But
you can make money on that thing.
Even though that it has no real utility. But
it just doesn't do anything.
So it holds the title of the first meme coin, which is why Bitcoin holds the first title of crypto. So, yeah. But anyway, with that, people, we shall leave it. Thank you very much for attending tonight. We're an hour and 10 into it. We'll be back again next week. One thing. Does anybody know why we called it coin toss? Looking forward to your reactions in the comments. Why is it called coin toss? Okay. Thanks, Mark. Stay on after, mate, so you don't disappear on me. And we
Cheers.
shall leave you all to it. Once I get to the one that says media assets and the one that says this.